Attention passionate Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Pittsburgh Steelers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Pittsburgh Steelers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Let's get to the news. All right, folks, buckle up because what I'm about to tell you could be one of the most significant moves in the NFL this season, especially for the Steelers. Rumors are swirling around a potential blockbuster trade that could shake up the entire AFC North and significantly boost the Steelers' chances to contend for yet another Super Bowl. The buzz. Devin Witherspoon, the young and highly talented cornerback from the Seattle Seahawks, might be headed to Pittsburgh. That's right, a trade that could see the Steelers landing one of the league's most promising defensive talents in exchange for a couple of valuable draft picks. Let's unpack this. The Seahawks, sitting at 9-5 and still in the playoff hunt, are facing some tough salary cap decisions. Despite having a solid season, they're operating with a tight cap situation, around $65 million in free space. But they're also prioritizing other defensive players like Darnold, who's been playing at an elite level with a PFF grade of 88. Zero and Woolen, who's been a shutdown corner himself. Witherspoon, 25 years old, has already proven himself as an elite player, boasting a lifetime run defense PFF grade of 90. He's also registered 8 interceptions so far, and his coverage grade for 2024 is 13th among all cornerbacks. Not bad at all for a guy who's still in the early stages of his career. Looking ahead to 2025, Witherspoon's numbers get even more impressive. His overall PFF grade is projected to be a league-leading 98, which would place him firmly among the top cornerbacks in the NFL. His coverage grade is expected to sit around 94. And his pass rush grade at 90. The guy is versatile, playing well against the run in coverage and even rushing the passer when needed. On average, he's logging around 7 tackles per game, with 1 interception and 9 hurries. And importantly, he's been healthy, no injuries so far, which is huge for a team looking to build stability on defense. Now, why would the Seahawks be willing to part with a player like Witherspoon? Well, it's mainly about rebuilding and managing their roster. Seattle has been focusing on a defensive overhaul, selling some of their versatility for draft capital. That's why they're reportedly asking for a second-round pick and a 5th-round pick in return. The Seahawks are trying to keep their window open with Geno Smith and a talented core, but they're also making moves for the future, especially on defense, where they see Witherspoon as a valuable trade chip to accumulate more draft capital. This is where the Steelers come into the picture. Pittsburgh's secondary has been a bit of a mixed bag this season. With T.J. Watt sidelined due to a lung injury, the defense has lost some of its usual punch and unpredictability. Adding Witherspoon would be a game changer. He's a lockdown corner, capable of shutting down the best receivers and reducing the size of the passing game opponents can run against Pittsburgh. Imagine Witherspoon paired with Porter Jr., creating a formidable duo that could elevate the entire secondary. This would be a crucial upgrade, especially considering how much the Steelers rely on their secondary to turn the tide of games. What's really exciting is how Witherspoon's presence could impact the team's overall defensive efficiency. If you've been watching the Steelers' games, you know that their pass defense has been vulnerable at times, giving up around 220 yards per game through the air. But with Witherspoon, the number could drop significantly, maybe even down to 180 yards per game, which is a massive difference. His ability to cover and make plays on the ball would also boost the team's coverage efficiency by around 18%, a number that translates directly into fewer big plays allowed and more turnovers forced. And let's talk about the bigger picture here. In terms of playoff impact, a player like Witherspoon could be the X-factor that pushes the Steelers from good to great. PFF recently gave him a game grade of 95, 0 in Week 14, which is phenomenal. If that level of play continues into the postseason, the Steelers could see a jump in their win probability, potentially by 15% against high-powered offenses. That's the kind of boost you want when you're trying to make a deep playoff run, especially with the Super Bowl odds shifting from around +1,200 to as low as +650 if they add a player of Witherspoon's caliber. Now, some might wonder about the cap implications. The Steelers have around $67 million in cap space for 2024, which gives them enough flexibility to bring in a star like Witherspoon without too much trouble. Plus, with the current form of the team and the need to strengthen the secondary, this move could be a perfect fit. Imagine a Steelers defense that's not just solid but elite, capable of making life miserable for quarterbacks and turning the tide of games with turnovers and big stops. That kind of defense could be the difference maker in the playoffs and could even help the Steelers challenge for another Super Bowl appearance. In the context of the AFC North, this potential trade could also serve as a statement. The Bengals and Ravens have been building strong defenses and dynamic offenses, and the Browns are always dangerous on both sides of the ball. Pittsburgh needs to stay aggressive, and acquiring a player like Witherspoon would send a loud message that they're not backing down from the challenge. It's about creating a defense that can match, if not surpass, the best in the league, especially when it counts the most in January and February. Of course, nothing is official yet, and some details could still change. But the fact that the Seahawks are open to trading Witherspoon indicates that they're prioritizing draft capital and a bit of a rebuild, which aligns perfectly with the Steelers' current needs. A trade involving a second-round pick and a fifth could be the kind of move that pays dividends immediately, and in the long run, giving the Steelers a lockdown corner that can anchor their secondary for years to come. As fans, we know how critical the secondary is, especially in high-stakes games. Having a shutdown corner like Witherspoon would allow the Steelers to play more aggressive defense, bring more pressure, and trust that their cover guys can hold down the fort. It's a move that could elevate the entire team, making them more unpredictable and dangerous. Plus, it adds a layer of confidence for the coaching staff, knowing they have a top-tier player who can take on the league's best receivers. And don't forget, the Steelers have a pretty rich history of making smart moves in the draft and trades, especially on defense. Players like Revis, who once boosted the Jets' secondary, showed how a dynamic corner can transform a defense. Witherspoon has that same potential. He's young, talented, and hungry. His presence could also inspire the rest of the secondary and even the pass rush, knowing they've got a real game-changer on the field. Looking ahead, if this trade happens, it could be the start of a new chapter for Pittsburgh. A defense that's tough to beat, with lockdown corners disrupting passing games, could be just what the Steelers need to finally get over the hump and contend for another Super Bowl. And considering the current odds and his playoff performance, Witherspoon could be the difference maker that takes the Steelers to that next level. So, fans, keep an eye on this story. It's one that could shape the rest of the season and possibly the franchise's future. The Steelers are always about building for the long term, and adding a guy like Witherspoon would definitely check that box. It's a move that combines youth, talent, and a hunger to win, exactly what we want in a team chasing another ring. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this potential trade? Do you think Devon Witherspoon could be the missing piece for our defense? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Steelers, and it's always great to see the passion you bring to the conversation. Remember, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news. Whether it's trades, injuries, or game analysis, we're all in this together, rooting for the black and gold to rise once again. Let's keep the faith, stay loud, and keep pushing for that next Super Bowl victory.